I mean, it's a particular headache in the especially in the tech ops area as an operational engineer or even as an DevOps engineer. Okay, in the production system. Okay, how to monitor the logs and how to identify the issues, or how to predict the issues and act proactively. Okay, so these are the problems that we are facing while I mean when we are managing the production system. So today we are going to cover that the common headache that we will have, and how we resolve it by using the industrial product. Okay, and then make our life easy. Okay, so this is so our agenda is the just the explanation about the what is the headache or what is the problem that we have and how to solve it. And we are going to obviously talk about the elk structure, okay, elk architecture, and by using the elk, how we can resolve the this particular problem. And then we are going to do some workshop, that is a basic workshop, not the advanced one, where that how we configure, how we just the start up the elk stack, and just to fetch the log and put it into the elk, and just the visualize it from the Kibana. So that is the areas that we are going to cover. So I'll move it. Okay, the first thing. So as an operational engineer, or if you guys are the freshers or the coming from the campus background, you may have enough experience on developing the projects and debugging on it, and I mean some AI kind of project, or very big solutions that you have built. Okay, but I don't think that none of you have been considered once we deployed that particular system into the production, because it's a luxury for you guys, because you guys can do whatever the debugging in UID, and you guys can resolve the bugs in the code, and then you guys can present it into what you call into the when you are doing the Viva. Okay, so that is basically, even in the Viva panel also, basically they are focusing on your solution. Obviously, they are focusing on your solution, but none of guys are thinking once this solution have been deployed into the production system, which means that actually the end users are using the system. Okay, and how to do the maintainability, because system is growing and end users might face some issues which has not been captured during the QA time or the UAT time. Okay, so or when the system is run, so you will get some other problems with the servers and so problems. Okay, so you might not be considered these things while you are doing the projects, but these things are the real world issues that we are facing when we deploy the particular solution into the production environment. Okay, and as an operational engineer, okay, so as an tech ops or the operational engineer or the DevOps engineer, so we should have analysis. Okay, we should have analysis. Assume that the what you call user has been reported the issue. Okay, that he cannot do some particular thing. He click on the submit button, but it is not working. That expected functionality is not working. So then he comes to the ops guy, and he is asking him, this particular functionality is not working, can you resolve this? So at this time, developers might be not there. So it's the code has been deployed in the production. Now it's in the production system. You cannot do the debugging and you cannot identify the issues. Debugging is not available. Your fancy tools, IDE tools are not available. So it is just the particular code or the bundle which is running in the production. Okay. Now, as an operational engineer, how we identified the issue. So that is the golden factor that we have is the log. Okay. So that is the golden factor where that the operational engineer is having, where that your application or it might be the web server, it might be the application server, or it might be your module which has been deployed in the application server. Okay, so that is having a basic element called log. So what is the log actually? So log is so everything which is doing your code is, when your code is executing, everything, I mean the things have been written into the particular log file. Okay, so basically when the user is click the submit button, so what is happening behind the scene is getting right into the particular log file. Even the if you get the application servers like WebLogic server, or the web servers like Apache server, okay, so those servers also having their own logs, okay, which is explaining that, which is giving us the idea that what is the traffic which has been income to the WebLogic server, okay, which is we called as an access log. Okay, and when the things are running in the WebLogic server, and server perspective, what is happening to the server, which is getting into the server logs, which we called as an MPS. So everything is having the particular basic element called the log. Okay, so we use this log to debug the issues in the production environment, because we don't have the fancy, I mean IDE which you guys are using when you develop the code. Okay, so as an operational engineer, so they have the golden factor, which is a called logs. So we need to go through the logs, and we need to identify the issue. So log is actually we are using for the issue debugging. Okay, or as well as we can do by using the logs, we can identify any predictive issues. Okay, that any predictive issues which is currently the issue is not happened. Okay, but might be happened in the future. Okay, might be happened in the future. So as an operational engineer, we have to think about that aspect as well, because we don't have to, I mean we can't wait until the production system is going to be down. So we have to analyze the logs, and we have to identify what will be happen in the future. Is my system is fully okay to run run without any issues for next week, or next 2 weeks, or next year? Okay, so like that. So I mean we should be in a capable to identify that. For that also we are using the logs. Okay, and then security aspects. So if you get the production systems, like it's not just the WebLogic, or it's not just the Apache, so there might be load balancers which is using. Okay, so whatever, so security aspects, so there cannot be DDoS attacks. Okay, DDoS attacks come to the system. So there should be a way that we should have identified that kind of the attack. Okay, so how we identify it? We can use the logs. From the logs we can identify it. Okay, from this particular IP we are getting the more hits. Okay, why we are getting the more hits? What is this IP? Okay, from where this IP came from? Okay, who is accessing the system from this IP? Is this actually the system user who is using actually the system? Okay, so everything we are actually identified in the production system through the logs. So that's why I called it as an log. Log is an golden factor when it's come to the operational engineer. Okay, so then what is the pain? So I mean, as a assume that we don't use any tools. Okay, we don't use any tools. We just use that just if the issue comes. Okay, we have to manually log into the server. Okay, and we have to uh, tail the logs, which means we have to look at the logs and we have to find the issue. So this is the very time consuming task, because production systems are not just the not just like your laptop. Okay, so your laptop, if your laptop is having your code base, doesn't matter, it's a one log or just the one thing. Okay, you can go ahead and check the issue on there, or like that. So it's just not the one machine. Okay, it's just not the one machine. When it's come to the production system, it's a multiple machine, that your application layer might be distributed across across multiple servers, like 5 to 10 servers, or it can be scalable. Okay, it can be scalable. If it is not 10 servers are not enough, it can be just create another VM and plug it into the cluster. Okay, so like that. So it's a multiple servers. So your web layer might have the multiple servers. Your application layer might have the multiple servers. Okay, your load balancer layer might have the multiple servers, like clusters. Okay, we call them as an cluster. So when the issue comes, the real problem that we face is that we don't know for which, I mean, if they assume that, as an example, a particular user is getting the issue when he click the submit button. Okay, so we have to identify where that issue is. Okay, so I might need to log into the all my web servers just to check that whether issue is with the web server. So if I have the 5 web servers, I don't know this particular user's request has been reached to which server. So I need to log into all 5 manually and identify, go through the logs and identify, okay, this particular user's request has comes to which particular server, or that application layer. Application layer, if I have the 10 servers, I need to log into all 10 servers to identify this particular request and identify what has been caused to this particular user issue. Okay, so these are the real world problems that we are facing as an operational engineer when we are doing the maintenance in the system. Okay, in the system, when we are doing the maintenance in the system, or when we are resolving issues in the system. So these are the actually the real world problems that we are getting. And another thing is that logs might be not structured. Okay, because web server logs might be in a different format, application server logs is in a different format, and the modules you have been deployed in the application server might be in a different format. Okay, because these are doing by different developers, so that can be happen in the production system. Okay, there are plenty of examples it might be happen. So and another thing is that some people is having the expert knowledge. If you get the team, okay, some people is having the expert knowledge where that assume expert Linux knowledge that they can play with the some commands, and they can easily identify issues in the logs by playing with the commands, because they have the expert knowledge on that. Okay, but some might be in the team doesn't have that particular expert knowledge. Okay, so while that this group of peoples are not there, okay, if the people who have not that much expert knowledge, they might be in the take care of the system. When the issue comes, the amount of time that they have to spend to identify the issues must be kind of bigger. Okay, so these are the actually real world problems when we are facing as an operational engineer when we maintain the production system when it's come to the logs. Okay, so what will be the solution? Can't we come out of this particular headache? Yes, we can come out of this particular headache. So how to come out of this particular headache is, so this is the solution. So this is not only the solution. So there are plenty of tools in the market, but this is the kind of a solution which is famous and which is open source, which is freely available in the market, which doesn't mean that it have the enterprise version as well, which is having the more features, okay, like alerting and so features. Okay, but this is available freely where we can use overcome this particular problem. So what is this? This is actually we called as an ELK stack, or we called as an Elasticsearch. Okay, so by using the ELK stack, we can actually come out of this problem, and we can easily, we don't have to assume that if the issue comes, if I have the 10 application servers, I don't have to log in into these 10 application server. I have one front end, okay, one front end and I can log into that front end and I can play with it, and I can write queries, and I may have developed the dashboard, and I can identify the issues, okay, straight away without spending that much of time. So this is the golden factor as an operational engineer or as an DevOps engineer. Okay. So if we deployed this particular stack into our production system, this will be the golden factor, and it will be benefited for we as well as the customer and as well as the who own the system. Okay. And it will be actually make our life very easy. So this is the solution. So then I'll directly moving into the ELK stack. Okay, ELK stack architecture. So the so this architecture, so I focused on especially to log analytics. Okay, but Elasticsearch is the vast topic. Elasticsearch is the vast topic. It is not only for the logs analytics. Okay, but this is the one use case that you guys can achieve through the Elasticsearch. So when it's come to the ELK stack, ELK stack means that Elasticsearch, Logstash and the Kibana. Actually, this Logstash and the Kibana were with the different companies. Okay, Elasticsearch has been developed with the different companies. So then they brought these two technologies also into their company, and they made a one stack. Okay, which we called as an ELK stack. So by using these components, by using the Elasticsearch, by using the Kibana, by using the Logstash, and there is a one component called Beat as well. Okay, I'll explain these into details in next slides. Okay, this is just a touch. So by using these together, okay, we can develop the architecture for the log analytic, where that operational engineer can easily do the log analysis when the issue arise, or that we can predict the issues. Okay, before issues arise, we can predict the issues, or we can identify any security issues like DDoS attacks and so and so. Okay, so like I have been shown in here. So simply assume that, so this is the simple architecture. Okay, where that assume that I have the Apache Apache web server. Okay, or the traffic. Okay, the traffic component that we are using as an front end. Okay, to distribute the what you call traffic here and there. Okay, this is being vastly used if you are using the Docker stack. Okay, and these logs are getting pushed. So this is we called as an beat. So from the beats, we are getting pushed into the Logstash. Okay, so that might be the unstructured logs. Okay, which is not being structured. So the Logstash is always filtering that. Okay, filtering in the sense that unstructured logs he is converting into the structured way, where that I told you that some might have a different time zones and so and so. So we can edit it, we can do whatever the possibilities, whatever the amendments, or we can mutate some of the field which is in the logs. Okay, and we can do whatever the magic in the Logstash. Okay, and we can output that particular log snippet into the Elasticsearch. So this is basically we called as an DB. It's not the relational database, it's a NoSQL DB, where that these logs are getting stored. So the Kibana is the visualizing tool. Okay, so everything have been now been stored. Your logs have been stored in the Elasticsearch. Okay, but there should be some way to you can visualize it, or you can play with it. You can develop the dashboard on it. Okay, whatever the logs that you have been stored, you should be capable to create the dashboard, to write some queries and identify the issues like that, or isolate the particular logs related to the particular user. Okay, so whatever the thing you can do from the Kibana dashboard. And not only that, you can maintain the Elasticsearch cluster from the Kibana visualizing tool, where that I'll explain in the upcoming slides that we have something called index. You can create the index, you can delete the index, you can manipulate the index, and you can check how much storage which has been took to the index. Okay, So everything you can manage from the Kibana. Okay, so that is the tool stack that we can use to visualize the logs. Okay, and then I'll take the Elasticsearch. So what is this Elasticsearch actually? Okay, so that is the it's a distributed search. Okay, it's a distributed search engine or the analytic engine. Okay, where you can use fast search or fast analysis, fast analytic logs, something like use cases like that. Okay, like the Google search engine, right? They have their own search engine where you can do the full text search on there. Okay, like that, Elasticsearch also basically it's the distributed search engine. Okay, it's have the full capacity, full capacity to do whatever the functionalities which is related to the search. Okay, and it's support into the what you call full text search as well. Okay, so if I get as an example, it's not only for the, that's what I said when I am starting, it's not only for the log analysis. Okay, we can do many more things, and we have what you call I think 3,000 plus companies. If you search in the Google, we have 3,000 plus companies. Even the Facebook is using Elasticsearch as their search functionalities. Not only the search functionalities, identified the trends and so and so. Okay, and even the Netflix and very famous what you call educational site called Udemy. Okay, and Uber. Okay, Uber also, they are also using the Elasticsearch engine to identify the driver's location and so and so. Okay, so this is not only for the log analytics. Okay, so like if I get an example, so shopping carts, right? If you get the what do you call Amazon or the Daraz, okay, these kind of shopping carts. So when you log in these days, and if you just search one product, okay, or 2 to 3 products, they can predict your interest. Okay, they can predict your interest. Okay, how they predict your interest? So they are using the tool like Elasticsearch. Okay, so the Elasticsearch kind of the tool. So this kind of the distributed search engine. So this is supporting that kind of capabilities where that it can identify particular user's preference or predict the particular user's preference, and it can show it to the user. So we know plenty of example these days, right? We search for one thing, it will next time when you log in, it will give us the so many options. It will give us the so many options, and sometimes you didn't even thought to buy that, but you are tempted to buy it because it has just pop up that instead, I mean, without waiting you to search it. So that kind of capabilities we have with the Elasticsearch. Okay, and this particular solution, Elasticsearch, is why they are calling it as a distributed search, because the whatever the tool in these days, even when you design a system, okay, design a production system, what you are basically looking for, reliability of the system and the scalability of the system. Okay, so from the reliability perspective and the scalability perspective, especially in the scalability perspective, it is very easy to plug the Elastic node into the existing cluster. Okay, basically everything in the clusters these days, so you can create the Elasticsearch cluster. It's not that much of difficult that if you feel that you need some other nodes to cater the bandwidth, or when you are getting more requests from the users, or your product is getting more users, okay, you will realize that the more bandwidth more request comes to your system. So you can easily scale up your Elasticsearch cluster. This Elasticsearch cluster you can easily scale up. So that is the it's not that much of difficult. It's a very straightforward task. Okay, it's not that much of difficult. So from the resiliency perspective as well as the scalability perspective, this is having the it's a magnificent solution. And some of the use cases, as I said that, so it is providing the search box functionalities, okay, and the log analytics, which is our topic. And this has the machine learning capabilities, what I told you, okay, what I told you that it can like Daraz and other shopping cart capabilities. So it can analytic from the Elasticsearch itself. It can do the analysis by himself, not from your query, not with the involvement from you. You may have heard something called data mining technologies. Okay, so like that, their machine learning models will predict, okay, this might be happen even in the log analytics. Okay, if you deploy this matching, basically this machine learning is comes with the enterprise license, okay, which you have to play, not with the free version. So if you enable this, it will do the analysis, okay, throughout your data, and it will come up with the predictive model. Okay, it will come up with the predictive ideas. Okay, it can predict that, it can actually forecast that, okay, this much of request has comes to your system throughout this much of month. Okay, so the next 3 months it might be increase into this much of request. Okay, so as an operational engineer, okay, when it's come to the log analytics, it's the I mean golden factor for me. Okay, I mean I haven't done anything, I haven't put the effort, so only put the effort to deploy this particular product. Okay, but it has done everything for me. Okay, so that is the Elasticsearch. So then I'll move to the Kibana. So as I said, Kibana is the visualization tool, okay, where that I can play with the Elasticsearch. I can play with the Elasticsearch data, which has been stored in the Elasticsearch database. Okay, and Logstash. So the Logstash is, as I told you, it's the it is what it's doing is it has the capabilities. It has the capabilities to get input. Okay, input might be your log file, or input might be the beats, or input might be your syslog, or at least what you call CloudWatch from the Amazon. So the whatever the inputs, okay, he can get as an input, and he can do the filtering. Okay, he can do the filtering. So filtering in the sense that, as I said that, so he can do what you call do the amendments, and he can structure the logs in the such a way, okay, that we won't, because unstructured log snippets can become, so he can structure the logs in the given way. Okay, and then finally he can output. Okay, he can output, which it is Logstash not always outputting into the Elasticsearch. He can output into the other solutions as well. We can use the MongoDB or the Amazon S3, okay, or into the CSV or the just the file, okay, like that. So you can output whatever the input which has been inputted. You can filter it, and you can do the output. So it is basically this Logstash. So this is we called as an pipeline. Okay, and it has the real-time capabilities, where that when the log is writing into the what you call into the particular file, it has real-time capabilities. It can read it and filter it. Okay, it can filter it in the sense that it is converting into the readable format. That's what do you mean by filtering? So the converting into the readable format, and put it into the as an output. Okay, in our case, it is put it into the Elasticsearch. So the logs are getting stored in the Elasticsearch. Okay, so we call this as an in the Elasticsearch, in the Logstash, we called it as an one log snippet. We called it as an event. Okay, it will retrieve the event and filter the event, and output the event into the Elasticsearch DB, where that particular event is getting stored in the Elasticsearch. Okay, so that is the capabilities of the Logstash. So Logstash is having his own capabilities to read the file, and he can get the from the other sources as well. Okay, he has the plugins. I'll tell you. I'll show you when I doing the hands-on. He has plugins. He's have plenty of plugins. So to read the files from the Beats, he has the Beats plugin. Okay, and to read the logs from the file, he has the file plugin. And to do the output, he has the output Elasticsearch plugin, okay, or the Redis plugin, or the MongoDB plugin, okay. And do the filtering, he has the Grok plugin, okay. Like that, he has having a set of libraries to do the each and every task, okay. And then I'll move into the Beats. Okay, so the Beats has been written by the Elasticsearch guys, these guys. Where that these, now you might be have the question that, okay, why we cannot deploy the Logstash in the first hand, because Logstash also can have the reading capabilities from the file and read the logs and put it into the Elasticsearch. That is possible, but Logstash is kind of heavyweight. Okay, so we are not putting because our servers logs have been distributed among the servers. So all the logs we have to read from maybe 5 to 10 servers, or then more than that. Okay, so we cannot deploy Logstash into each and every server, which is not the proper architecture, proper solution. So for that, they have been introduced the Beats. Okay, Beats is that the very lightweight solution which they have been introduced, that we can deploy it as an agent. Okay, so if you get the FileBeat, we can install on the each server in the production, each server, assume application servers, we have 5 servers. All the 5 servers we can install the FileBeat, and we can direct FileBeat into our log location and tell that you have to read these are the logs that you have to read, and then output into the Logstash. So the Logstash is in the centralized location, or more than one instance might have been deployed in the enterprise cluster. So we are directing that particular FileBeat output in the Logstash, where Logstash will input it and do the filtering and output it. Okay, so the basically the FileBeat we use for the logs, read the logs, and Heartbeat we actually use to, your system might have used several APIs, several other backends your system will talk to. So we need to monitor that these backends are available. Okay, so through the Heartbeats we can achieve that. Okay, it will monitor that these Heartbeats, these backends are available for your system to use. And we have the MetricsBeat. MetricsBeat, once you deploy the MetricsBeat in the server, okay, you can enable whether to it can monitor your CPU usage, your memory usage, and even you have deployed the Docker, and you can talk to the Docker soak port and everything which related to the Docker, how many containers and what is the health of the containers, and everything can be grabbed from the MetricsBeat. It's a very you don't have to do much of the configuration in these beats. Okay, so it will do the job for you. Difficult job it will do for you. Okay, so basically Beats can actually not always put it into the Logstash, but there are ways that there are use cases that you can directly put it into the Elasticsearch as well, like MetricsBeat. So the MetricsBeat, it do the structuring of the particular assume CPU usage. It's do the structuring of that particular log, which is generating from the MetricsBeat, which I don't have to send it to the Logstash. I can directly put it into the Elasticsearch. Okay, you can put it into the Logstash, and from the Logstash also you can get it. But there are some use cases if you use the MetricsBeat, or if you use the Heartbeat, so which is already been structured, we can directly put it into the Elasticsearch. Okay, but FileBeat, obviously we will put it into the Logstash, because we have to do some cleanup on the particular log files which we are getting. Okay, And okay, some of the basic concepts. Okay, so so those are the tool explanation which I have given. But when it's come to the Elasticsearch, you should have know that these basic concepts before comes into the Elasticsearch. So the Elasticsearch DB solution actually save, I mean, hold everything from the format called the index. Okay, so what I tried to do in here, I tried to map it with the relational database. Okay, with the relational database. You know very well about the relational database. Okay, so you know very well about the relational table. Okay, so table, I am trying to map the concepts which is used in the Elasticsearch, okay, with the table where you can easily understand. Okay, so the basically everything stored in the Elasticsearch is from the JSON format. Okay, so it's just the key value pair. Okay, nothing, no any rocket science. Okay, so and the basic the way that it is storing the data is we called as an index, and the index is actually will be, we can map into the table which is in the database. Okay, we can map into the table. So assume your personal data will hold in a one table, so that is the one index in the Elasticsearch world. Okay, and what is in the document? So this is the very basic element in the Elasticsearch. You may have been heard this much of index have, okay, 1000 documents, 1000 plus documents, 2000 documents. So what's the document? It's a very simple. When we map into the table in the relational database model, it's just the record. Okay, it's just the one record, but will be stored in a stored it as a document format with the JSON format. Okay, so the document will have data. Okay, so the data, and it has the, okay, table is having a field, right, column. Okay, or the we called as an column header. Okay, so that is mapping into the field. Okay, where in that if you get the message is the field. Okay, where that if you get the one document, okay, that message is a field where that it has the value on it. Okay, message is the field where it has the value on it. So it's there is no any rocket science. It's very easy when you map into the what you call database model. So the index is a table, okay, which contain related data, particular related data. Now if you get the Apache logs I'm storing in the one index where that it contains the Apache logs. If you get the WebLogic logs, it actually what you call store only the what you call WebLogic logs. Okay, so that is we called as an one index, and the basic element in the index is the document which is relevant, which is related to the what you call row. Okay, and field is just the column header which is in the table. Okay, and then another thing is how we stored. So these index across, and basically as everything, Elasticsearch will be deployed as an cluster. Okay, this is the vast topic. Okay, not the direct topic. This is a vast topic. And Elasticsearch is having the data node, coordination only nodes, and what you call master nodes, voting node only nodes. Okay, so when you develop the Elastic cluster, okay, so it is having a several nodes. So one particular deployment, or the one particular what you call Elastic instance, we called as a node, which might be deployed in the one VM virtual machine. Okay, and across these nodes, okay, so Elastic cluster is containing the nodes. So across these nodes, we stored the index. Okay, so the index is having the documents. How these documents is getting stored? Through the shards. Okay, through the shard. So shard is the basic element where that these documents are getting stored. Okay, so the index might have many shards. Okay, because when it's come to the production solutions, having one shard is not is not the good way of doing it, because having one shard will make your search very slow when it is growing. So we will have multiple shards. Okay, so the Elasticsearch is having capabilities to identify this particular data is in this shard and this particular data in this index is in this task. I mean, same concept which is in the relational model when it's become to the index. Okay, and I'll go to the another slide. So the shards, this is how the shards actually spread across. Okay, so the shard spreads across. So the index is there, one index. Assume that this is a WebLogic application logs index, that we have two shards, whereas that the shards have been spread across two nodes in the cluster. Okay, that all the documents are getting stored in these two shards. Okay, that is taken care by the Elasticsearch cluster. That is, he is doing how he is storing the document, and he know when you query the data, he know that where to search. Okay, he know that which shard is having this particular data and which shard is having this particular data. And then what is the replica? Replica is if this particular shard or this node crash or this shard crash. Okay, in any case, the data which has been stored inside this particular shard, we will be lose. So it's a data loss. Okay, we will be lose. It's a data loss. So to avoid that, they have been introduced this replica. Okay, so each shard can have one or more replicas which has been distributed among other nodes. Replicas are not deployed in the same node. They will deployed in some other nodes. Okay, so this shard is having the one replica in this particular node. This shard is having the one replica in this particular node. There is no, that is totally doing by the Elasticsearch. So this particular replica we might be having this here as well. Okay, so in that case, if this particular shard goes down or crash or this node crash, then Elasticsearch knows, okay, this particular shard goes down, or this particular node is not available. Okay, I have that particular data available in this replica. Okay, so it is having capability to come to this particular replica and do the search for it. Okay, and the new data also getting stored inside this particular replica. Okay, so that's how these are the basic concepts related to shards, I mean related to Elasticsearch concepts. Okay, you should know the document and what is the index, and what is the field, and everything is getting stored in the JSON format, and Elasticsearch cluster, and then the shards and the replicas. Okay, then so the next thing is the workshop. Okay, so I'll simply, what I am focusing is that I'll just deploy the Elasticsearch and deploy the Kibana and deploy the Logstash and do a simple it kind of the very basic workshop which you can start with your own. Okay, by using this. Okay, so let me share my other monitor. Okay, so hope Mr. You all can see my
Yes.
another monitor, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry guys, it takes some time, so let me try my best to finish it on time. So basically I'm not going through the slides. Okay, but I'll instead of slides I'll show you in here. So so I'm doing this in the Windows. Okay, where that it is comes as an zip files. Okay, so you can just straight away unzip. You don't have to install, or you don't have to do the installation on the Windows system. Okay, and it's just unzip, and you will get the unzip folders. But don't do this from the Windows unzip, because Windows when you do this Windows unzip, so this particular zip files inside, they have very long names for the some libraries. Okay, but Windows zip they block they don't allow to unzip those files. So because of that, you can use the ZZip kind of the tool to do the unzip. So this is so I have been unzipped. So if you go to the this particular Logstash, so I'll start from the Logstash. So this is basically contains the folder structure. So the basically the configuration. So basically what we dealing is actually the config folder. Okay, what we dealing actually with the config folder. So when it's come to the real world deployment, so I'll start the Logstash. Okay, so let me start the CMD. So then let me log into the just cd into the Logstash location. Okay, and then it's just the we need to run the Logstash binary. Okay, there is a bat file. So once we run this bat file, so it will run the Logstash binary and the service will be startup. So so let me, it's in the bin folder and I'll run it. Okay. So just look at carefully in the just the std out, okay, which is it will be put, and see what will happen. Okay. And please bear with me, guys. This is take some time because I'm doing it in the locally, so it takes some time to start up. So please bear with me. So yeah.
Kushan, no worries. In the meanwhile, right, I think
Yeah.
let's just, there are a few questions also, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Or do you want to get back to this because it's just completed?
Yeah, just completed. Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So you can see that. So nothing has been, I mean, you can see that there is error. Okay. I just want you to show this error. So that's why I have been run it, because it is going and checked inside the pipeline. I mean, inside the config directory, there is a file called pipeline.yml file. Okay. So when you run the Logstash, okay, I told you that. So Logstash always needs some input, and then it needs to be output, or it needs to be filter and output. Okay, so it will defaultly, it will go to the this particular location. Okay, this particular location. Okay, and it will check that the pipelines.yml file. Okay, so the pipeline.yml file, it has been checked, but we haven't done any configuration in the pipeline.yml file. Okay, because we haven't defined any pipelines. We haven't defined what will be our input or what will be our filter, and what needs to be do inside the filter, and what will be our output. We haven't done nothing. So we have just run it in the what you call just run is the Logstash binary, but it will go and look at in this particular file. Okay, but file we don't have anything. We haven't done any configuration. Anyway, I'm not going to touch this particular file. Okay, we will do in the later session. Okay, in the future. But I'm not using the pipeline.yml file in here. Instead of using pipeline.yml file, okay, there is a way that I can tell to the Logstash, okay, don't use the pipeline.yml file. I may have play with command line options. or I'll input the particular conf file, okay, and I'll play with the conf file, okay. That I can tell to the Logstash, okay, ignore the pipeline.yml and I'll do these things, okay. So what you call, so I can enter. So this is what I'm going to do is that you don't need the you can do the bat, or otherwise you don't need that. So with the -c option, you can define the command line, you can define what are the operations that you want to do. Okay, with the -c option, command line, you can actually give the operations that you want to do. Okay, so if I enter this, now you can see the logs, std out. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
we might get
let's
one question. Yeah, Mr. Yeah.
So, Kushan, just want to what you call find out for the benefit of the audience, right? Now, before someone gets into Elasticsearch, what kind of a technical background or what kind of a, what you call operational background do you think is required for the person?
Yeah, before getting to the Elasticsearch, Misnad, so he should have the thorough understanding. I mean, in the SRE concepts as well, Misnad, the toils. Okay, so he should be in the thorough understanding about the what about the, I mean, the logs that he is going to be monitored. Okay, because the manual monitoring also he should have the basically the understanding on the each and every log, that what is the Apache access logs and what is the WebLogic BR logs and what is the MPS log and what is his application logs and what is being written in the application logs and what is the exception, how to identify issues from the exception. So this basic knowledge he should have with himself. Okay, with that, okay, with that he actually because then he knows the pain, right? Then he knows the pain that he has been gone through. Okay, so then it will be easy for him or her to move into the Elasticsearch. Okay, and by going through the tutorial or whatever the following particular documentation or the Elasticsearch documentation, so it will be easy for him or her to understand it. Okay, now assume if you get the Logstash, maybe they might not be understand exactly what are these plugins, why it is a beats. Okay, I have told that beat has been pointed into the one particular log directly. What is this log directly? What is told about this particular log? What is this access log? Okay, and what is this access log format? Because every log is having the particular format. I'll show you in here. So that particular log format also he should have been in the understand, like in the, if you get the access log, so time format is there, HTTP status is there, request URL is there, referrer is there. So he should have understanding that particular, those particular basic concepts. So with that basic concepts, he can move into the Elasticsearch and learn the Elasticsearch capabilities and then deploy it in his own cluster. I think am I answered the question? Correct, right? Yeah. So these are the basic things, because because actually, we search for this solution because we suffered a lot, Mr. Right? Yeah.
Right.
So these things we actually needs to be come across. Then only you can find the solution for this. Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah. So then it has been start up. Now you can see what you call, it's telling in the log, it is just ignoring pipeline.yml. Okay, because why I have given the -c option? Because I have given the command line option, I have given input. So as an input, I have given the std in. Okay, So the std in, so I told logstash as an input, get the std in. What is the std in? It's the standard input, okay, which is I am entering something in the console, okay. So it's a standard input, and as an I don't have the filter in here, but as an output, I told okay std out. I am not putting it into the Elasticsearch. I am not putting it into the MongoDB. Okay, I am just putting it into the std out. So Elasticsearch will read what I have inputted in the std in, and then just output into the std out, which means that if I enter hello world, okay, and it will be C. So I entered hello world. So then logstash has been outputted. So it doesn't output only the hello world. Okay, so you can see some other field also. He has been inputted into this particular input that I have given. Okay, so he took it as an message. So he has been created the property call message, key call message, and he have been assigned my message into here. Okay, and then he has been created the timestamp which I entered it. Okay, and he has been created another property call. What do you call the particular machine? Okay, host which I have been entered. Okay, so this is the basic thing, but this is not the real world thing that we are going to do. But now next what we are going to do is that by using the -f option, we are going to give the file. Okay, we are going to input at the configuration file where we will use in the real world scenarios. Okay, so I'll show you that particular file. Okay, I have been stored in here. Okay, so this is the file format. Okay, so the normally I put out everything and commented it in here, then it will be easy for me. So then the basically logstash configuration file should have 3 areas. Okay, mandatory is input and the output. You should have the input type, you should have the output type. So the filter is not the mandatory, but we are using in the production clusters, we have to use. Where that this is the filtering section is the section that I told you that we make it structured. Okay, we make it structured. Okay, so then we have the input. Okay, we have defined the input. So the inside the input, I am using the std in as an plugin. So this is the std in plugin. Okay, where that logstash can understand if you input anything, he can understand it from the std in plugin. And then output, so this is the std out plugin. Okay, so from the std out, we can just what do you call output what has been inputted, we are outputting. So the codec is something that we are using for the data representation. We are in here, so we are using the codec plugin called the Ruby library. Okay, the Ruby library. Sorry that these might be not known to you, but those are the vast topics. I'm just explaining. Okay, that that I am using to do the data representation. So basically, this conf file should have input type, filter type, okay, output type. So having the input is the must and having the output is the must. Filter is the what you call optional, but anyway, using the logstash is the purpose that we want to filter it. We want to get what you call cleanse it. Okay, so I'll now use the what you call configuration file in here. Okay, and so the syntax to use it is -f option. Okay, just using the -f option, so I can input at the configuration file. Okay, I can input at the configuration file. Okay, so I have been inputted the configuration file from the -f option. Okay, where that now it will read the configuration file, and this particular thing I have been this particular option, the config test and exit option I have given, that if you have been written the configuration file in the production systems, it might be a huge file. Okay, so you need to check that whether your file is having the what you call correct syntax. Okay, so to do that, you can actually use that test and exit, where that it will be checked syntax of this particular file, and it will tell you, okay, syntax is okay, or if there is any error. If there is any error, it will show the error, or otherwise it will be exit. Okay.
Kushan, while that loads,
Yeah.
another one I just have. So, what is your opinion about Elasticsearch versus the other tools that are available on the market? What are the other tools also available?
Yeah. So there are plenty of other tools. As example, so we have the Splunk and we have the Logi. Okay, we have the Greylog, and kind of tools are available in the market. Okay, but why? I mean, we have been used the Splunk as well. Okay, so Splunk also the marvelous tool. Okay, searching and everything, it also the marvelous tool. But this particular tool in the industry is very expensive. You don't have any free version, but we have the free version, but those are trial version, and you don't have what you call any I mean more functionalities available. But those are very what you call expensive tools. Okay, expensive tool. But if you get the tool like Logi, but Logi doesn't have capabilities than the Elasticsearch. Okay, so when we compared with these tools, Elasticsearch in the industrial perspective, and it's a marvelous tool that you can deploy your own, and it is having the enterprise version. Okay, it is having the enterprise version, totally understood, but it has given its more capabilities for us to deploy their free version and play with it. Okay, so with that, so we can deploy the cluster even in our production system. We have been deployed the Elasticsearch cluster, what you call enterprise Elasticsearch cluster, where we are doing plenty of tasks from it. We do the query, we create the dashboard. Okay, so do the plenty of tasks from it. So when we compare with other tools, okay, so if you get the Splunk is very expensive. So because of that, the people are not moving to it, because those days most of the maybe the clients, or maybe the user perspective, they are searching for the good quality service, but from the low cost. Okay, so we have the good solution available in the market, which have the Splunk capabilities. Okay, and it is available freely. Okay, so why we go ahead for the Splunk? Okay, and so the people are moving to the Elasticsearch. Okay, obviously Elasticsearch, so they have some their own alerting mechanisms and so some features which has been not exposed in the free version, but we can live with it. Doesn't matter. Okay, we can live with it. We can deploy it still, and we can made our enterprise cluster, and we can play with it. So hope I have been answered.
That's fine. That's good, Kushan.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So see them. So now it has been validated the what you call particular file, and it is telling okay. Okay, so my file is now okay. If I made any changes in here, so if I remove one letter, or if I remove one letter in here, it will show me the error. Okay, and I plan to show it, but since time is running out, so I'll directly go to the go to run this particular configuration. Okay, so to run this configuration, I'll just inputted with this particular option. You can either use this option or you can either not to use this option, config reload automatic. So this option is enabling that if you do any changes after you run the Logstash, if you do any changes, okay, into the configuration file, it will automatically reload. You don't have to rerun. Okay, so I'll run it. So now
Kushan, again, while it's running.
Yeah.
So just in terms of the logs, right? You mentioned saying that you can, you can pass the logs and so on. But are there any standards that we must follow when we, build out the log files or when we are coding through for log output and so on?
Yeah. Standard in the sense that, so I'll show you one log file. Okay. Okay, so this is the particular log file. Okay, so this is the web server log file. So standard in the sense that, so we should have so when developer developing the log file, okay, developer developing the log file, or we have, if it can be the Apache log file, or it can be the WebLogic log file. Okay, so the particular person should have understanding on what to put on the log file. Okay, what to put on the log file, because Logstash will do the filtration onto the log file and it will be put it into the Elasticsearch. Okay, and we can view it. Okay, even though we are doing it, even though we are manually search through the logs, if the log is not helpful to understand, okay, to a particular operational engineer, that is the useless task. Okay, that is a useless task. So when we are especially writing the module, okay, writing the code, okay, assume that as a developer you are capturing the particular exception file. Okay, as a developer you are capturing the particular exception file. So sorry, exception, sorry, not the file, exception. Then that exception, once you captured it, when you put it into the log, okay, you should capture it and put it in the readable format where it says that this is the problem with this particular backend. This particular backend you expected assume it's a DB call, so it's a particular backend you expected single row output, but you are getting the multiple rows. So that is need to clearly mention in the particular log file. Okay, where that then the operational engineer can be can be easily read out. Okay, and that thing we have to, so even as a developer, when you are developing the modules, that is specifically you have to keep on that mind, that whenever the exception or whenever the failure scenarios that you are getting, you should be put it into the logs in the readable format. And the logs actually should be in a need to be, we have to arrange it in a readable format as well, in a such a way that that we are arranging it in such a way that this particular Apache logs need to be in this particular format. Okay, then when you filter it in the Logstash, it is very easy to filter it. Okay, otherwise you have to write a different Logstash conf file to capture each and every Apache logs to do the filtration. So as an prerequisite, what we need to do is we have to realign the logs. Right now in this log, we have been aligning it in such a way, okay, that this is the client IP that which this particular. So this is the Apache web log. So this particular request comes from, and this is the timestamp, and this is the request URL, and the HTTP method, and the response code, okay, and the response time, and the referrer, okay, in such a way that we have been align the logs, okay. And if it is get the WebLogic logs also we have been write in such a way, every server is writing to the logs in a same format, okay, where that I can easily do the filtration in the logstash level. Yeah.
Got
So,
it.
yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So basically, it has to be structured in a particular format that is
exactly, exactly, Mixed. So basically, then we should have even the developer or even the operational engineer. So they should be in a better understanding of the purpose of the logs. So the purpose of the logs, why the logs has been there to easily identify the issues. So if you keep it in mind and looked into the logs, so it will be easy for us to arrange the log in a particular format. Yeah.
Understood, Kushan. Thanks. And everyone on the call, so we'll look at wrapping it up in the next 15 minutes. So it's already 7:15, right? I'll try to close it off by 7:30. So Kushan, no pressure. Right?
yeah, Misnat. Sorry, I'm trying my best to
worries
arrange it. Yeah.
Let's proceed.
Yeah. So now you can see that what do you call? I have given the std in, and the configuration file I have been given the std out. Okay. So now it says that again. So it comes to the pipeline running mode. Okay. Now why one pipeline is running. So now it is waiting to enter it in the std in, because my input is an std in. So if I put an hello world in here, okay, so it is actually outputting. Now you can see that -e option, we have done the same thing, but now with the -f option, we have inputted into the configuration file and then have done the same way. But now I'm going to use that real world, what do you call, a log. So this is the log that I have shown you. Okay, this is the log I'm going to use. So this is the Apache web server logs. We called it as an access log. Okay, so where that access log, in the sense that particular request which is comes into the Apache server is getting logged into the access log. Okay, so so I just disabling std in. Okay, and I am enabling the what do you call, input plugin as an file. So now I am using the plugin called file. So in here I can use the beats as well, beats as an plugin, or I can use, I am now using the particular file. I'm directly put the log into the particular log into the, sorry, reading it from the file. Okay, so and I am enabling the path. Okay, so the file plugin has been enabled, and inside the file plugin I am using the method called path. Okay, and I'm directing my web server log. Okay, now I am using same std out. Okay, same std out in here. So which is, I am just put the what do you call, output into the my console. Okay, so I am running it. I forget that I have been saved it. Okay. Now I'll put a particular log line. There is a reason that these particular log lines haven't been read. Okay, so I'll tell you later. So I'll put a new log line. Okay, and I'll save it. Okay, I have done the save. Okay, now you can see. Okay, I have inputted, I have updated this particular log line, and I have saved the file. Now you can see that it has been outputted into the output. Okay, so now you can see that my particular log snippet has been written in the message. Okay, has been written in the message, but this is not the professional way of doing it, because if you put that everything as a single, this is like a single sentence, right? And you are putting it into the single message. Okay, and then if you output into the Elasticsearch just like this way, okay, it is very difficult to do the query. Okay, very difficult to do the query, because that's what the document is available, because then this document is having the field call message. Okay, where that my whole particular log snippet is there, but I want to do some, what you call searching. When in the Kibana from this client IP, I want to do some searching. So it's very difficult because it has been saved as a sentence. Okay, not in a better way. So the better way of doing it is and do the filtering. Filtering will do what? Cleansing this. Or unstructured log will be structured in the sense that unstructured will be structured in the sense that it will be break these logs snippets into the chunks. Okay, and create another key value pair, like this particular value. Okay, it will break and it will get as a client IP, and this particular value it will get as a timestamp, and this is it will get as an HTTP method. Okay, and this is it will get as an HTTP version, and this is it will get as an HTTP request. Now if you are giving the meaningful, okay, key value pair, once it getting saved in the Elasticsearch, it is very easy to do the searching. Like if you map into the relational database, name, age, and everything you are storing in a one column. Okay, so then to do the query, it's very difficult, right? You have to write so much of like and so and so. Okay, so same in here. So to do the filtering, how to do it? We use the filter. Okay, we use the filter option. In the filter option, we have a plugin called Grok. Okay, this is the first topic, guys. This Grok pattern. Okay, which is that you can it has the method called the match. Okay, where that it will get the key as a message. So the value for that particular message, it is matched this particular Grok pattern. So this is for the easiness. I have actually got the Grok pattern, which has been already been written, but actual Grok pattern, when you are writing the Grok pattern, guys, so this is the actual way of doing it. Okay, so assume that I have the log something like this. Okay, to capture it, okay, in the Grok, you are calling this portion as an syntax and this portion as an semantic, which means that you capture in the message, you capture this particular first value as an IP. So this is something like data type. Okay, so you will capture it as an IP, which has been already the Grok pattern. Okay, which comes with the Logstash, and then mapping it to the client or the client IP. So this is just a wording. You can give whatever in here, meaningful name in here, and then you give the space in here, space. Okay, give the space, and then you write. Okay, then it's the method. Okay, method. The data type you given as an Grok pattern, you give as an word. Okay, and map it into the method. Okay, method in the sense that this is a word. You can give your name also in here, meaningful name. So this is we called as an syntax, and this is we called as an semantic. So, but in this particular example, I used the already pre-written grok pattern to capture the Apache logs. Okay, where that I don't have to write my custom grok pattern. For the easiness, I have been done it. Okay, but in the real world, if you having your own log pattern, you have changed the Apache what you call default log pattern. You have to write your own log pattern, which as I have shown you. It's a different topic, guys. It's a we cannot explain it in this kind of a session. Okay, so that I just use the grok pattern now. Now we input the file. Okay, now we filter it. Okay, and we will output into the std out. Okay, so then I saved it. Okay. Okay, now you can see that I didn't restart Logstash. I just changed the configuration file. Okay, configuration file, and just save it, and then it will automatically reload. It's because of that particular particular configuration which I have given you, automatic configuration. So I inputted now a particular log snippet. Okay. Okay. Okay, now you guys can see that it has been broken into chunks, right? Previously you can see that the message, it has been displayed as a message. Okay, so everything in a one single line. Okay, but now it is in the very usable format. I have been filtered it. Okay, now if I send this as an output, if I send it into the Elasticsearch, this will saved as an one document. Okay, and this is we can get it as an field. Okay, or the key value pair, and this is we can what you call name it as an field. Now you can see that it has been broken into chunks, right? Client IP, this is the client IP, this is the HTTP version, this is the timestamp, this is the referrer, this is the bytes. Okay, that comes with the request, and this is the request URL. What is the response code? Now it is in the very usable format. Okay, so this is we called as an filtering. Okay, this is we called as an filtering. And the again the last question that the Misnad have been asked, that the as an prerequisites, what we need to do actually will make this particular log, okay, into in a structured format. Structured in the sense that we will align this in a particular format, and then all my web servers should be in this particular format. Okay, where that in my configuration file I can write only one filtration. Okay, I can write only one grok pattern where all of my logs web servers will be send it into the Logstash, where I can break it from the one particular grok pattern. Okay, so that is the practical scenario. So all the web server logs, we have to get it into the particular standard. So that is what we that is the practical scenario. And once you get it into the particular standard, so in here it's writing the grok pattern and break it into the chunks. Okay, and I'm using another marvelous plugin that Logstash is having, is the GeoIP. Okay, where that it is nowadays which we need, that it is from where this particular IP came from. So the GeoIP library actually give you the coordination, location, which country, and so information about this particular client IP. So let me quickly do that. I'll enable it. Okay. it. Okay, so now I entered the log snippet. Okay, now you see we have the GeoIP option in here. See, so this is the particular GeoIP. So it has described this particular client IP came from where? Okay, country code and longitude and the postal code and latitude, okay, and time zone, okay, and what is the continent code, okay, city name, country name, everything has been given in here. So see that if I manually monitored this, okay, I need to get this client IP and put it into the Google and check from where it has been come, okay, especially in the DDoS attack kind of thing, okay. But now it's very easy. With this option, I'll put it into the Elasticsearch and the Kibana. I can weave it and easily identified, okay, this particular request is comes from this particular region and this particular country, okay. So this is the beauty of it. Yeah, Mr. Now it's 7:30. So somewhat, yeah, I have been covered until the Logstash. Yeah.
No problems. That's good. So thanks a lot, Kushan. So basically, you managed to beautify the log right into and
Exactly.
take out the data out of a raw log format into something more sensible. And as you mentioned as well, one of the most important things of log formatting and structuring the logs in such a way that is human readable is that systems like this can interpret it properly. And we can also create amazing visuals using Kibana, right?
Exactly,
And
Mr.
of course, the Kibana part is a topic for another session, and
Exactly,
which
Mr.
we do, because that itself, gives you so much of control, and it allows you to analyze a lot of data. In the previous cases, what you would do is you would go into the log files manually across several different systems and try to crack your head almost, right? But doing it like this, it's just available in one single place. We run a few commands, curl commands, and you can simply extract the data, right? So yes, that's amazing, Kushan. Thank you very much for this, right?
Yeah, just
Any
a thought,
closing
Mr. Yeah.
comments? Yes.
Yeah, just a thought, Mr. So anyone is entering into this, okay? The Logstash actually, when we talk about the Logstash, Grok is the one we have to learn a lot, okay? This because when we talk about the what do you call logs, to break it into chunks, so there are several log patterns. Even you can write your own custom log pattern, okay? So they can learn about these things, and then they can gradually come into the Elasticsearch and then do the visualizing. Because even to do the visualizing, we have to do this part very correctly. Then only we can do the correct visualizing from the Kibana. Yeah.
Understood, Kushan. Thank you very much. All right. So thanks everyone for attending, right? And thank you very much, Kushan, for conducting the session. Right?
No problem, Ms. Nadia. Apologies for the timing,
No
Ms.
worries
Nadia.
at all.
Exactly.
No worries at all. So this concludes the second episode of our Tech Talks for the Sri Lanka Tech Ops community. Subscribe to our Tech Ops community on LinkedIn. We will upload the video as well as soon as it can be made available. And stay tuned for more sessions, right, of this nature. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ms. Nad. Cheers. Bye.